Last year, the St. Louis Regional Chamber and Growth Association raised $2.9 million for its annual economic development program. Nearly 90% of that money came from private businesses, but St. Louis County gave the RCGA $200,000, and county officials weren't exactly thrilled with the results.
I would grade their performance as being okay with the ability to improve.
Despite that lukewarm endorsement, Denny Coleman, the president and CEO of the St. Louis County Economic Council, says the RCGA has helped the county connect with businesses and overall has probably earned the money it gets from St. Louis County. But he admits he doesn't really know how the chamber has spent $2 million in county funds during the last decade.
We put that money into the general fund for the Regional Economic Development Campaign. We do have a contract that says what we expect in return for our investment, but we don't tie specific dollars to specific functions.
They can spend it any way they want.
In essence.
True?
Let me add a piece to that.
That's true, though?
Since you're referencing the economic development
Mr.
fund
Fleming,
itself.
In fairness, if I'm asking you a direct question at this point in the interview, I'd really appreciate if you give me a direct answer. I'm running out of time. Okay. I know you've got to get moving.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Okay.
All right. Is that true?
It's true, but the county executive serves on the board of trustees of the Economic Development Campaign that goes through extensive oversight and approval of every expense that is made. And that board of trustees includes the mayor, Alan Dunstan, Steve Ellman, and Charlie, in addition to business leaders.
So what you're telling me is that they have signed off personally on the way RCGA spends city, county, other municipalities' money?
Of all the money.
So Fleming says 4 elected officials personally approved all of the money in that almost $3 million campaign. Well, that came as a shock to those 4 elected leaders.
First off, I haven't signed off on anything.
Madison County Board Chair Alan Dunstan isn't sure how the RCGA spends that money, since he and other elected officials are non-voting members who don't see detailed budgets, much less an expense report.
We don't get into the line items of the way money is spent. And I wasn't there when you interviewed Mr. Fleming, so I don't want to say too much more than that. But we do not make those decisions.
The other elected and non-voting officials on the RCGA's Board of Trustees, St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay, St. Louis County Executive Charlie Dooley, and St. Charles County Executive Steve Ellman, all confirmed that they, like Dunstan, do not have a deep understanding of how that money is spent, and they do not approve budgets.
And we are
During a recent conference in St. Louis, 3 executives from chambers in Nashville, Oklahoma City, and Kansas City all preached the importance of transparency.
It's pure partnership.
The Nashville Chamber's Janet Miller provided us with a copy of a contract with Nashville-Davidson County, the Chamber's final report to Nashville, and a breakdown of costs for a recent chamber trip to New York.
If a government entity gives you money for a specific purpose, like job attraction, you can itemize how you spent that money.
Sure, absolutely. Every penny of it.
And you're willing to do it.
Of course, of course.
Miller also says Nashville has audited some of the Nashville Chamber's expenses. As part of a written agreement with the RCGA, St. Louis County has the right to audit the way the RCGA spends St. Louis County money. But it has never done so, even though St. Louis County publicly questioned RCGA spending on a highly paid consultant 7 years ago. In 2004, News 4 discovered that the RCGA paid $1.4 million to management consultant David Levin. Levin, shown here in an RCGA video, claimed to be psychic. In a magazine article about his psychic family, Levin's wife and 15-year-old son insisted they had clairvoyant powers, too.
I would have appreciated a little more directness on this from Mr. Levin.
Fleming worked with Levin for 7 years at the RCGA, paying him about $200,000 a year, which was more than any RCGA executive except Fleming. Sources say Levin, who rented this apartment in University City, had input on who should be hired and fired at the RCGA, though Fleming denied it at the time. Fleming did admit that Levin interviewed top executives in the region, giving Fleming background about the executives and what they wanted out of the regional chamber.
Did you know David Levin was a claimed clairvoyant?
No, I didn't.
All the years you knew him.
My knowledge of David Levin is in the context of him being a good management consultant with a lot of spiritual orientation.
Though Fleming denied knowing about Levin's alleged powers, sources say Levin was open about his claims. But when Levin's role at the RCGA turned into a local joke, Fleming fired him.
We severed our relationship with him.
At the time of the scandal and during a recent interview, Fleming insisted that the RCGA is transparent.
I know what many of the chambers around this country do, and I know we're considered best practice in that.
At the time of the Levin scandal, the St. Louis Business Journal reported the RCGA's annual consulting budget was $700,000, and that Dick Fleming could spend the money any way he wanted without board approval. The next year, the RCGA approved a financial manual requiring Fleming to get full board approval for any consulting deal worth more than $100 grand a year. But under that policy, Fleming still has the authority to spend up to $50,000 per contract any way he wants without the approval of anyone else. When we come back, how does our chamber market St. Louis, and how do we know if it works?
I moved to St. Louis from New York City.
I'm from Glendale, Maryland.
Atlanta, Georgia.